Team, we are excited to share a big discovery to us, something that we've been working on for a number of years. We've been in business together now for, I think, 6 or 7 years,
Something like that.
working
Yeah.
with hundreds of companies around the world, thousands of sales leaders, and really through the outbound game platform that we've developed over the last few years, getting into the data, which is new to us, to be honest. Like, we started our business in sales training, consulting, advisory, working with people, and then we built a platform that started to measure data, and that was a pretty interesting journey. So we wanted to take the time to record this video for you, really kind of digging into the insights over the last 3 or 4 years of what the data has told us about human behavior, psychology, strategy, and focus when it comes to goal attainment, which we're pumped. And so we've landed on this idea of the 2-1 rule, something that has happened progressively. It's not something that we just like landed on from a whim. It's like been a very, very gradual process. And so we wanted to take the time to record this and go, how did we land on this? What does it mean for teams? And you, as a leader who's probably watching this video, thinking about how do we motivate my team in multiple departments, not just sales, but
Mm.
operations, finance, marketing, all the way through to really drive the bottom line revenue and bottom line profit of our business. That's ultimately what you're designed to do as a leader, is drive bottom line growth. And so yeah, pumped to go into a bit of a mini sode, does
Yes.
and,
Be good.
how it's all come to be.
Yeah. Ripper. Let's rip in. I'm keen to lay it all out on the table because it's some pretty interesting findings that you come across when you put it all together. So let's rip in, team. Essentially, what we have discovered through running the outbound platform with, as Steve said, thousands of salespeople and sales leaders across the world. Doesn't matter which country they've come from, what industry they're in. This is the patterns that have come out. Throughout the outbound platform, what we have seen is over, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Steve, I'm pretty sure this is counting, by the way, and counting, is 1.3 million activities have been posted through the platform.
Yep.
Over $1 billion in closed revenue has been logged through the platform by players worldwide. And over 13,000 team goals and individual goals have been completed through the platform to
Yep.
date. Again, as I said, and counting, literally to the moment, there's more of that already happening on all three counts, right? So what we've discovered is some patterns that show up, or one in particular, one key pattern where we looked at this and we go, that is really interesting because that is the key to driving focus and productivity in a team.
Mm.
Usually we've applied it with sales teams, but as we've discovered, what we've called the 2-1 rule applies to multiple departments. So I'm going to kick off from the top, Steve. If that's cool. I'll rip on through, and feel free to stop
Sure.
me at any stage. Lasso me out if I go too deep or philosophical. That's not the plan here. But essentially, team, what we've discovered is throughout using outbound is we originally looked at it and we thought, if you can create a strong enough, motivating enough, exciting enough, gamified enough metric dashboard, then you can drive any behavior you want to see. And what we discovered was that's actually not true. People in a working environment will opt for simplicity anytime it is offered,
Mm.
and will shy away from complexity or overwhelming experience of too many things they need to focus on anytime they get the opportunity. They'll shy away from that. Okay. So when we first started and said, you can do anything, you can drive motivation and behavior around anything, that was true for around about maybe 1 to 2 to 3 days, Steve, of someone implementing that sort of style of behavior. And then it would quickly fall off a cliff because things naturally became too complex over time. We added time and stirred, and it didn't work long term. Okay, not sustainable. So then what we did was we reduced the amount of actions. We had 7 actions. Then we had 5 actions. Then we said, what if it was just 1 action? That was too little. And ultimately, what we landed on, team, is what we're here calling the 2-1 rule, which we've realized the most productive, most focused, most successful teams using a visual dashboard in this way have typically had what we call the focus 3. 3 activities, 3 actions that they focus on that drive a result, and that's it. And
Yep.
the 3 actions, the 3 activities fall into what we call 2 lead measures and 1 lag measure, or what we call 2 controllable actions and 1 outcome/result at the end of the day. Okay.
Mm.
When we talk lead, lag, or actionable versus outcome. What we're really referring to is this. What are the two things that your team can be in control of and do more of consciously? They can consciously decide, I'm going to do more of this thing. That if you track those numbers will result in more of the lag outcome that you're looking to achieve later that day. In a sales team, as an example, we would have outbound calls. I can decide whether I want to make more outbound calls. And let's say booked meetings. Booked meetings actually still has a tinge of lag to it because the buyer has to agree to the meeting. But let's just say, for the sake of this example, that's what we want to drive. So we want to drive more outbound calls. We want to drive more booked meetings. Those are two that are more in our control.
Mm.
And the third one, which is actually less in our control, is closed revenue at the end of the day. But the whole philosophy is, as long as I control the things that I can control, the one that I can't should take care of itself.
Mm.
Okay, classic example there, Steve. So that's essentially the 2-1 rule, and it can be applied across multiple departments, not just sales, which we'll get into a few examples in a second. But that's the key philosophy that we're going for here. And this is what the data is telling us, is that if we apply a 2-1 rule, you get a focused team, a productive team, and a team that knows whether they're winning at a glance, and that drives further motivation to want to get ahead and hit their KPI goals. Pretty cool stuff, Steve. Like the simplicity of this is what we love the most.
Yeah, and it's something that like teams have brought up to us before is like, do you either just drive quantity or do you drive quality, right? And often we've seen those 2 points in competition with each other. If you crank up quantity, does that diminish quality?
Mm.
If you crank up quality, does that diminish quantity? And what we've found through the data is the answer is both. And when you can have that 2-1 rule synced, meaning the two lead measures directly point to the lag measure, the quality measure, then you've got everything that you need in one screen, one dashboard, something
Mm.
to measure. And so
Love it.
it's been pretty interesting to land on the absolute fact that less is more.
Yes, yes, yes. Yep. Surrender to the simplicity. That's the lesson. So, team, there are three principles that underpin the power of the 2-1 rule. I'm going to run through them right now. First one is this. I've studied personally to this day, studied psychology. I picked up my first psychology book when I was 10 years old, watched my first documentary when I was 10 years old, fell in love with the brain and human behavior at 10 years old, and have studied it basically every day and taught it most days ever since. That was 25 years ago. So I love this thing called the brain. I've consumed a lot of content in that time. I've studied it extensively. I've done psychology degrees on it. I've done all of it in all, and we've run outbound and all of this sort of stuff. I've done it all. And there is one thing above all of the rest that drives motivation and drives productivity in a team more than anything else I've ever researched, studied, or uncovered. And the answer is visibility.
Mm.
When someone can look up at a glance and see whether they're ahead or behind on their goals, literally within a millisecond to know whether they're ahead or behind,
Mm.
and they know that the rest of the company can see whether they're ahead or behind on their goals. So
Mm.
they know that people can see when they're behind. They know that people can notice when they're in front. Visibility drives productivity and motivation more than anything else you could possibly use. In
Mm.
fact, so much so that if you ever implement any form of motivation or productivity measure and it's not visible,
Mm.
you can essentially throw that strategy in the bin. Visibility must be key if it's a long-term sustainable approach that you want to take to this, to driving your team. Okay. So that's the first thing, is you need visibility. The team needs to know, when it comes to my 2-1 rule, am I ahead or behind on where I need to be on that goal? That's the first thing. Second thing is communication. Once it's actually visible, it needs to be brought up often at your meetings, at your team meetings. If you're in a sales team, it'd be your sales meeting. If you're in a marketing team, it'd be your marketing meeting. Usually you'll have them at around about Monday, 9:15 a.m. every week, whatever it may be. The more it's communicated around, the better, because if something is visible but doesn't get spoken about, people learn that it's okay if they're behind on their goals, because ultimately it never gets brought up anyway. It's never something that's actually implemented. Okay.
Mm.
So that's key. And then the third part is this, and it's something that so many CRMs and platforms miss around the world, Steve, is the power of something being time bound. I
Pretty
do know
much every platform.
this is your baby, so I want to pass over to you to describe the power of it. Go for your life.
Yeah, like there's this thing called Parkinson's law, which is time expands to fill time allocated. This is why in high school you did your exam and crunched it in the night before it was due, or that, you need to take your bins out on a Friday morning because that's when bin man turns up. You don't take it out Thursday the night before. Like you normally get up early, like you rush to the deadline. We as human beings rush to the deadline. But here's the thing, team, and this is something I'm flabbergasted by, but log into your accounting software right now. Log into your CRM. Log into any other dashboard that you have right now, and I almost guarantee none of it is time bound. If we log into our accounting software right now, Das, it'll give us data. It'll tell us where we're at today, but in no way
Or
does,
what we've done in the past.
or
Yeah.
what we've done in the past, in no way does it correlate to where we should be right now. Same with your CRM. You log into your CRM, it's beautiful. You see your dashboard, you see all your deals and the deal stages, you see all those little, Kanban squares. Sweet, great, we love it. We need that. But nowhere on that screen does it show you where you should be right now. As
In
in,
accordance with your goals.
right now to the second in accordance to the goals.
Mm.
Yet, whenever I watch cricket and I have a look at that little run rate and we need to score 6 runs this over to stay ahead of pace to win the game, the whole game gets oriented around that one thing, which is the pacer, which is where do we need to be right now in accordance with our goals. And that's something that to us was a massive aha moment when we were creating our platforms and our methodology is we need to really make everything that we do time bound.
Mm.
And we need to make the time bound aspect to it visible. And that's key. If you want to get more motivated, you want a team to become more focused, more diligent, more self-driven, it has to have an element of time. Otherwise, we're going to fall into the Parkinson's law. We're going to stretch
Mm.
everything out till the deadline, which is usually, in the case of a leader, some sort of nagging, some sort of micromanagement, or some uncomfortable conversation that comes up at a team meeting. So that's the third big aha that we had is when you start to work with the element of time and time in accordance to a goal, everything changes and very quickly, which
Yes.
is really cool to see.
Love it. So that's what we have, team. So essentially, all of this comes backed by data. Through all of the data that we've created through the Outbound platform, we've realized this. We realized the most unsuccessful teams have too many metrics. The most successful teams apply what we call the 2-1 rule. Two actions that are in your control, leading to one action that is letting you know the quality of how you've applied those first two. Okay, so a lead, lead, lag. The three principles that underpin it are visibility, super important, communication, super important, and needs to be time bound, super important. As long as those three things are taken care of, the 2-1 rule will be sustainably built into your business. Now, as a result, the 2-1 rule isn't just applied to sales teams. You can apply the 2-1 rule across practically any department in your team that is driven by some form of productivity. Okay. So essentially what we talk about when we talk about too many metrics is there's three things here. The first reason that a lot of metrics don't work is that teams focus on too much and end up influencing none. Or as Steve, we always like to say, typically when we're working with teams, is that they end up chasing 10 rabbits and catching exactly zero.
Yeah.
But if you chase one rabbit, you will catch one rabbit, you will eat one rabbit, you will be satisfied eating one rabbit. Okay. So that's the first thing is that if you try and focus on way too many things, you end up doing a lot of them to the level of about 20%. As opposed to nailing one. The human brain loves ones. The power of one is really big in the human mind. So it loves to be able to focus on the one thing it can do and do it well and do it to completion. Second part, Steve, is the too much focus on lag or lead instead of both. We created Outbound originally because so many platforms focused just on the end dollar amount. And sales leaders would so often come up to their team and just go, hey, team, go get more deals. Team's like, no worries, boss. And the boss comes back the next day like, hey, team, did you get more deals? Boss is like, the team's like, not yet, boss. Like, no worries, we'll go out there and get more deals. It was always focused on the end of the line without realizing that what you should be focusing on is the things that you can control that lead to more deals. How many outbound calls you're making, how many meetings are you booking, how many LinkedIn posts are you doing, whatever it may be. But even we started to realize, Steve, that even going too far on the lead approach actually isn't valuable either. So the 2-1 rule, what we love about it is there's that perfect synergy between both. It is the perfect mix between even lead measures and then a key lag measure at the end that is key to focus on as well.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And then to realize this team that this isn't just a sales problem. Steve and I started in the sales world, but this is a human problem. Focus is a human problem. And our focus is being stolen from us all day, every day by technology, by this thing that probably sits within arm's reach of where you're currently sitting right now. I guarantee you could probably reach out your phone. People are very distracted. All right. When they come to work, the more you can help them focus, the more you can help them stay on track, the more productive they remain. And that's the key here is the 2-1 rule can be applied across any department because we're all human beings first, department second.
Yeah, I love it.
Cool.
So you
Go
probably
for it, Steve.
you're probably hearing this team and going, okay, yep, makes sense. I understand that foundationally lines up. How do I actually do it across department? So whether you're a sales leader, a business owner, you're head of finance, you're head of operations, you're a workshop manager, this applies, marketing manager, this applies across every department. And here's a step-by-step process that you can work through, starting with yourself as a leader, but then throughout your whole team to make this all make sense. So the first question you want to ask yourself and your team is, if we only did two things really well that were in our control, i.e. the lead measures, what would they be? And when you get really honest with yourself, you can normally align to just the two things that you should do over and over and over again that have
Mm.
consistently led to a better result. Like we said in sales, that's calls and meetings. In operations, those things are normally proactive communication with your client, maybe some internal quality measures or some internal strategy sessions. If you're in marketing, it's usually some form of tactical content creation, whether that's LinkedIn posts or emails to the list or producing case studies or white
Mm.
papers, or it could be post-sales conversations with your client to gather testimonials that build the social proof with the lag measure of leads being generated. In finance, it's usually like proactive communication with your client to make sure that the bills are going to get paid, that you're proactively sending invoices on time or ahead of time. All of those touch points that lead to bills getting paid earlier, which ultimately lead to
Mm.
the lag measure of cash flow, deals coming, like cash coming through the business. You can apply this lead measure approach to pretty much anything. You might be listening to this and go, man, I need to get my health in order. Drink more water, increase your steps. Like, if
Yes.
you just did that over and over and over again, you're probably going to get the lag measure of, man, I'm in better shape. So everything has a lead measure. So the most important starting point is, what are the two things we know we need to do consistently to lead to a better result? That's step one.
Love it. Step 2, Steve.
So then you want to point those two lead measures towards a lag measure. And that end result is usually the thing that you want to measure in terms of growth within your department or growth within your business.
Or a better way of saying it is, what's the board going to ask you about?
What's the board going to ask you about?
Yeah.
And really at the end of the day, we call it the core four when it comes to the financial numbers. Let's just be honest here. Business is often financial in nature. So really there's four key measures that you're normally measuring as a lag result. So the first one is sales in. If you're in a sales and marketing team, it's about how many contracts you're signing, how many deals you're winning, how much business you're bringing in. If you're an operations team, you're normally focusing, or finance team, you're normally focusing on invoices going out. When we can actually convert those verbal deals or signatures on a piece of paper to actual money flowing in. Pretty straightforward. The third area is usually around lowering the cost of doing business and finding more efficiency in how you're actually running your day-to-day business. So if you're a procurement team, you're in estimation, your job is somewhat related to value engineering, you're trying to lower costs, which ultimately lead to the fourth measure, which is profit. How do we
Mm.
improve bottom line profit? And if you're a senior leader, if you're on the board, if you're a CEO, you understand that at the end of the day, your job is aligned to driving bottom line profit, what's left over at the end of the day. So
Mm.
that's where you want to sort of figure out is, what are those lag measures? What are those things that actually point to one of those metrics that kind of change the game for the business? That's step number two.
Nice. Step 3 and 4 obviously point to the principles that we were speaking of early. Step 3, 4, and 5 actually point to the principles we were discussing earlier, which is how is that measured? So obviously we run the outbound platform, which is going to do all three of these pretty well for you, but that's not the point here. Like if you want to measure it on an Excel spreadsheet, you can find a way to do that. If you want to measure it just with, what are they called? Like sticks and crosses, Steve, on a piece of paper, you can do that. You just need a way to measure how many of those activities have I done in a day, and am I on track with the lag measure result as well? Typically, your lag measure will be taken care of in some form of technology you already have, whether that's accounting software or your CRM will typically have, ideally, I'd be concerned if it didn't, will typically have that lag measure result built in. It just won't often help you fully track lead measures. That's the thing to keep.
Or it to be time bound. Yeah.
It's certainly not time bound, right? Step 4, how do you visualize it? So if how you're tracking that is only visible to the person who's doing the tracking and it's not publicly visible, then you're missing out on the visibility piece. So that's the key with visibility, is that it needs to be publicly visible so that anyone can walk past and at a glance see whether the team that's doing the thing is ahead or behind on their goals. Public visibility creates public accountability, and public accountability grows businesses. Okay. So keep that in mind. How will we visualize it? Then step 5 is how are you choosing to communicate that? Or as Steve has put here, ironically, how will you communicate that? That's key. That's absolutely key. So the thing around this team is deciding, once we know how it's been measured, once we know that it's visual, once it's become time bound, how often are we communicating about it? What's our meeting cadence to make sure that this is brought up? As I said, most departments will have at minimum a weekly meeting that is happening. And you want to be able to make sure that the information in step 3 and step 4 is easily accessible for you guys to be able to communicate about it right there and then, as opposed to sort of leaving it in the dark or leaving it up to chance.
Which I think is a big part of step 4, Das. Like the best teams that use any form of dashboard software or whatever it may be to help visualize their progress. It's on TV screens, it's live, it's cloud based. Anyone can tune in from any place on the planet and know in real time how they're tracking, which is so key. Like Excel's great. We love Excel. We love spreadsheets. But if it's not real time and if it's not visible in all areas at all time, well, that means we can't communicate well because we're not reading the same song sheet, so to speak.
100%. Yeah, TV screens is a big one. When we're talking about how's it measured, how's it visualized, how are you communicating, TV screens help measure, help put this in effect so well. Like TV screens for all, they're a great way to go. Step 6, Steve, is an interesting one. Obviously, throughout that, we've done a lot around endorsement, reward, re-incentivization to keep the loop going. What we've discovered a lot is you can reward the driving of this behavior in this activity all you want. What we're discovering is that a lot of teams even don't need to necessarily implement rewards specifically. They're just an extra option for the teams that want to go that extra step further. But this nice middle spot that we're seeing, Steve, which I love to see because it builds culture as well. So many people are implementing simple team-based rewards when the team-based goals are hit. So if as a team you all hit your 2-1 rule, you smash it out of the park this month, then as a team you get a group long lunch on a Friday or whatever it may be. I love that sort of stuff, but how you actually reward is completely up to you, from the minimum right to the maximum. Yeah.
I find that rewards are almost like a bit of a turbo. Like when you get it running really well, it does speed everything up and the drive. But a big part of it that's not to be overlooked is just the pure endorsement part of it, which leads to step number 5. If you're communicating really well about goal attainment, goal achievement, goal progress, and it becomes even verbal and it becomes acknowledged, like, hey, congrats, Das. I see you and your team have absolutely smashed the last 3 weeks in results, and that becomes a endorsement. That also is a really big culture builder. And so it's both. You can't pay off culture with just money and rewards. If your culture sucks, rewards aren't going to fix anything. But if you've got a good culture and then you apply rewards on top of that, then it scales up really quickly.
Nice. Love it. Over to you, mate. Go for it.
Yeah, so team, if you want to learn more about how this can apply directly to your business, I would love for you to go and visit ybravo.com/strategy session. You'll see there's plenty of great resources there for you to be able to access. And we're more than happy to jump on a calendar with you for 30 minutes to actually apply the 2-1 rule specifically to your business. Get inside your world. We'll do some research in prep, understand your business model, and the industry that you serve. We've applied this idea across multiple industries, multiple sizes of businesses, multiple sizes of teams, and we can give you some quick insights on how you could start to apply the 2-1 rule in your business to drive focus, collaboration, and ultimately higher productivity across the board. And so go check it out. It's, as we mentioned, it's been backed by real results. This hasn't, we haven't fast tracked this video. This has been
Yeah,
5 years
yeah.
in the making and plenty of trial and error, plenty of effort in terms of understanding what works and what doesn't. So if you go and check that out, you'll get a lot of information that you can drive. And a lot of people ask us, well, how does this incorporate with our existing systems? So we're big on integrations. We understand that a lot of this is actually driving the existing systems that you've probably invested in,
Mm,
but may not be getting all the value out of yet. And so this is a great way. If you do dashboards really well, you get focus aligned, you get the team kind of aligned to this time bound, let's stay ahead of the curve, let's hit our goals before the time. We can do that. So we can pull data in from HubSpot and Salesforce and Pipedrive and NetSuite, and even other platforms like Monday.com and Asana for your project management, or Zoho or Xero for your accounting software and invoicing. There's so much we can do, and we've built this platform to be really versatile. So have a chat with us. Let us know what your
mm.
current tech stack is, and we can let you know whether it's something that we can incorporate into the overall dashboard. And finally, Das, this is something you've put a lot of work into from a psychology point of view. If you go to ybravo.com/strategy session, you can also download our white paper. We've put together some pretty serious research around what we've experienced over the last 5, 6 years of rolling this out for, like we said, hundreds and hundreds of companies, and and put that into a easy to digest white paper around why it works, how it works, and even real use cases across departments. So you might be thinking like, okay, I can see how this works for sales, but how does it work for marketing?
Mm,
We've put together the whole thing end to end in terms of not just like what we've come up with, but like what we've seen actually work in companies.
mm.
So again, you can download that for free. Just go to ybravo.com/strategy session. You can download that by putting in your details, or you can book straight on our calendar for 30 minutes and we'll jump on for free and run you through the whole process end to end and apply it specifically to your business.
Love it. At this point, Steve, typically people, and don't blame them for a second, will often be thinking like, yeah, boys, like I'll jump on a strategy session, but then there's a pitch at the end of it, or there's some sort of sale is happening here. Like you guys aren't just giving away your time for free. And that's absolutely fair. Everyone's in business. Um, but essentially, just so you know, our model with outbound now that we've discovered the 2-1 rule, is our model is just getting this into as many businesses as possible because we just see the massive power in it. The investment into outbound as a platform is now no longer subscription based. So it used to be $35 per user. And if you added more users, it was another $35. And Steve, $35 a month doesn't sound like much, but once you start adding 10 players, 15 players into the platform, it does add up, right? Same with any subscription based model. So, model with outbound, the most you can pay us for outbound, you cannot pay us more if you wanted to, is $99 a month flat fee per company. That's it. Gives you full access to the platform to actually implement the 2-1 rule, not just across your sales team, but across multiple departments. And if you go and add on another 10, 20, 25, 30 people onto the platform, you'll only ever pay $99 per month flat fee for a company. That's it. You cannot pay us more than that, even if you wanted to. So we just want to open this up and make it super accessible because we see the power of it. So I thought that was worth mentioning, Steve.
No, love it. So yeah, head to the website, put in your details. We'd love to connect with you. And regardless of whether you work with us or anyone else to help roll out this kind of idea of the 2-1 rule with visibility, with communication, with endorsement, with rewards, with something that's time bound, I hope this has been educational for you to think about for each of your
Mm.
departments, and feel free to share this with department managers and get their thoughts on this as well. But we hope you got plenty of value out of this little little mini podcast, little session on the Q1 Rock.
Love it. Good stuff, Steve. Thanks, mate.
Cheers. Talk soon.
Love your work.